Ooh, the tea. So today's episode is brought to you by grandmas. Grandmas are wonderful. Everybody can agree on that. Except if your grandma was a complete monster. Then I guess that's what you chose before you came into this world. But either way, grandmas, they're all wonderful. So we're going to talk about grandmas today and how much I adore my grandma. My grandma, dare I say, is one of my best friends. And she's been one of my best friends for a very long time. Um, I'm one of my earliest memories of my grandmother is when I would come back from school from the YMCA from doing swimming, and my grandma would have rice and eggs and cooked banana, right there ready for me when I would like show up at home. And I pretty much talk to my grandma about everything. Like people will not tell things to my grandma, but event that they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't tell that to your grandma." Like, when I came out and like the whole sexuality thing, and we don't really dive into it, but she's not stupid. You know what I mean? She's not either supportive or anything like that, and we don't really talk about like anything particular. I think sometimes she'll play jokes, like, or I don't know what's going on in her mind in regards to me and relationships. She'll pair me with people that I would never in a billion years be paired with, and I'll be like, "What is this a joke?" Or are you like, and it to the point where it kind of pisses me off. So the point is, I love my. That's a little side note. So, well, David Archuleta. Just to talk about previously the David Archuleta show. Oh, he's not my boyfriend. I got this bag from David Archuleta for the VIP thing, and I just think it's the most wonderful thing I've gotten this year because I've been wanting something to carry, like my phone, and something like if I go to the gym, like I can just stuff it in there, something with strong straps, and it's just like David Archuleta was in my mind, like he's psychic, he's Jean Grey, and he read everybody's minds, like what they want? They want man bags. And I was like, "Oh, yeah." So yeah, so this is my David Archuleta man bag, and it's got like packages and stuff like that. It doesn't have packages. It's got it's got like you can put stuff in it. Like it's durable. It's nice. It's strong. So yeah. So no, I'm not on cocaine. I would never do that because I'm allergic to that family. Hence Primatene Mist when I was younger. So I just think my nose is runny. I don't know why. Maybe it's allergies, but I'm not sick. So okay. So back to grandma. So we're gonna talk about my grandma. My grandma, I adore. My grandma is, like I said, one of my best friends. And I seek to call her every day. Sometimes, sometimes she'll piss me off and I won't call her for like a couple days. She'll be on the doghouse. But eventually, like I'll call her back or whatever. I always call. She's never mad at me. It's always me, like, grandma said something stupid. Like, sometimes we'll get into straight up fights. I'm like, listen, and then I'll be like, well, blah, 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 blah. And she'll be like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah," and I'll be like, and I don't know how old she is because I don't care to know how old she is because that's how much I love my grandma. To me, my grandma could be 5 years old. Well, I'm not sure she's not, but she could be like, I don't know, 70 or 90 or 85 or whatever. The point is that she's getting up there, right? And I've seen the progression and change. And I mean, I don't that that issue, like I don't. I don't even cross it. I know that she's had some falls and as people do and things happen and the progression of aging. And it's like and I see it in myself, the progression of well, not really. Well, okay, fine, do think. And so and some others, I mean, I think I look fine though. I don't think I need Botox. I don't care if I need Botox. I don't know. We'll see. This is all an experiment. The point is, I see the progression of aging, right? So it's like, and I know I have friends, who are my age, who, not only have like, I don't even can't even bring myself to say that. I can't even bring myself to think it. I can't like, I just can't. I can't even go there. I can't address the issue because my grandma is that close to me. All right. That being said, it completely annihilates my heart the lack of communication. Maybe we should start all over again. No, let's keep going. It completely annihilates the lack of communication that a lot of family members, not just mine personally, but throughout our nation in general, are having with their loved ones and with not their loved ones. And so it's it's shocking. It's shocking and it's scary. It's scary because I think about the erosion of humanity, like they're children that are coming up and they will behave like I remember when children played outside in the streets. Maybe they still do. I remember when for children, the world wasn't so scary, where it wasn't just a predator out in the street, but it's a predator online, and it's a predator that may access your internet, and it's a predator that's taking your packages, and it's a predator that could be at the schools, and it's the children that could be the predators. It's like predator, it's like it's insane. It's just absolutely insane. To me, maybe I'm crazy, maybe crime has gone down, but I kind of fear going outside, and I would never in a billion years have a child. I would honestly would rather not be exist than have a child because the stress of having a child in this day and age, I could totally, for parents, I totally feel what you're going through. I totally feel what is happening. And I do believe in the hope, and I'm not thinking completely dark. I do believe in the hope, and I do believe that as a society, we can all come together. We can make better choices just a little bit, just kind of like a minor, just make a little bit of a choice. So, but we're gonna bring it back to my family because I'm gonna tee it up. All right. And then maybe I'm sure maybe you need to tee it up for your family. And by teeing it up, mean like you're gonna lay out the tea and be like, hey, this we're all gonna be drinking this shit. So I blame myself first and foremost because I'm the person I'm like, oh no, we're talking about it. This is important for the child and the future and the sake of humanity. And I am self-righteous and we are so bringing out all the cards on the table. And so that has gotten me a lot of bad, like, yeah, we're not doing that because that's none of your fucking business. And I don't even know why you thought you decided you could become lawyer and judge and jury about the family's lifestyle because I don't know, did the cousin awards twice in a year, three times. But then now all of a sudden, you run this shit show, right? I'm like, yes, I am. So of course, yeah, I'm not the black sheep. I'm the black goat. I'm I'm the black goat from that movie Witch to a lot of people. But I'm not, I just care. I just care. And I think that in order to strengthen bonds, you need to tear them down. I don't know what's wrong with me. So yeah, so first and foremost, it's my fault. I think that we all need to like when we start pointing fingers and be like, you, all these people, you need to look at inwards and be like, where did it all start from? Okay. So I think that's a beautiful, and I mean, you judge yourself in a loving manner. You fucked up, you made a mistake, you move on, you learn, you move on forward. You don't regret because that is part of who you are. And if it hadn't happened, you wouldn't be the person that you are today. But you take that information and you move forward. And maybe you could have said it differently now that the person that you are. Maybe you could have done it differently now that you know what you learned what you did. So yes, that's my attitude about it. I think one of the Madonna, whatever, Madonna's Madonna's one of those like issues. Whatever, we'll talk about that later. The point is, back to grandma. The point is that okay, so yeah, now that I've judged myself, I it hurts my heart that a majority of my extended family does not communicate as closely as I would like them to with my grandma. And when I grew up, I went to see my great grandmother. And so now my grandmother has a lot of great grandchildren. So one of the most beautiful times that me and my closest cousin, who I consider like a sibling, her and we would go see my grandmother, my great grandmother. And even though she was in bed, even though I still remember some of the conversations, her love, her touch, the softness of her skin, her look in her eye, just the beauty of her as a human being, just her being loving. I just remember her being love and that ripple element rippling into her daughters who have now also passed away, who were also love, regardless of, whatever family thinks or says or anything, whatever, people were love. And I think we try to hold on to, as human beings, we try to hold on to that memory that people are love. And when they leave, when they become, and so if we have those gemstones in it guides us as a humanity, and so in the choices that we make, in the hiring practices, in the firing practices, in the times when, you're meeting new people, that sense of empathy that what goes around comes around because there are forces out there constantly like, yeah, choose hate. Choose meanness, trust me. I will get in there and be like, I'm defending her because I'm a super feminist, and yeah, and you shouldn't be doing that. And I'll say some nasty things because so, and then I'll get to one, and then I'll go on their page because they want it on her page. So, I mean, why shouldn't I go on their page? Yeah, I can get petty, but at the end of the day, who does that help? Who does that help? You know what I mean? Is there a lesson learned? Maybe there is. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, we're all still making mistakes. The point is that it breaks my heart how many people don't. And then what's going to happen with the children? What's going to happen with the children and how they grow up. If they're not seeing their great grandmother and if they're not, you know what I mean, having those connections and whatnot, are the connections becoming less and less and less to the point where, society erodes into nothingness? So I guess, I mean, I don't know if this will change anything. I don't know if it will inspire anyone. I personally think that if I had children, I would make it an effort to have them see their grandmother or communicate with their great grandmother, as much as they can and utilize her as a learning tool, especially if she speaks another language and I want my children to learn another language, then I would send them, to write letters. So here's some things. Here's some things that you can do to better the situation. So what we can do is we can start writing letters. You can have your children write letters to their grandmothers, their great grandmothers, and be like, hey, this is what happened throughout the day. This is what I thought about. Write them in English, so maybe she can learn in English or translate them to both English and Spanish and write them in both languages and kind of like see like what's the difference? What did you learn? What didn't you learn from the experience? Have that be an experiment, especially when children are learning two languages. It's like you write them back to back and be like, oh, well, this word doesn't exist. And then, and it kind of gets their brain going. So I'm like, so later on when they grow up, they can utilize that ability in their brain to match those elements in whatever work that they do. So you can have them make paintings for grandma. You can set up Zoom calls if you're far away. You can call grandma. You can set up Zoom calls. You can, learn another language and check up with grandma and be like, "Hey, grandma, I learned all these new things." You can learn a new language for grandma. There's so many things that you can do for grandma. Get your grandma's address, send her something, surprise her something. I know a lot of times it feels like we're so connected to this internet world that we forget that we can actually send physical packages, which I guess will lead me to my next episode because I am linked to a store where my mother sells products. So, but we'll talk about that later. But I want a sneaky peek of Halloween. So this is what happened for Halloween. That didn't happen for Halloween. We'll talk about that in the next episode. I love you. And what do you think about grandmas? Let me know about your grandma. Let me know about your relationship with your grandma. And I'm glad that you stayed for this long. This is one of the longest ones. So let me know about your grandma and your relationship with your grandma. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful eternity. Wait.